I know that this is probably going to be an unpopular video, but I really feel like I'm really losing my faith with a lot of rescues. Rescues, in my current experience, really need to do better. My inbox, my professional network, people that I'm talking to, my colleagues, are all speaking about the same stuff. We are all really frustrated with dogs being transported, moved, rehomed into situations that are unsuitable. They're being transported with no real information about their training needs. Homes are not being properly matched. Dogs are not being properly assessed. Health needs are not being looked after. Behavioral, socialization needs are not being cared for. And this really, it's not good enough. Rescues really just need to do better. I'm not talking about the rescues that are putting these dogs' needs first. I'm not talking about the rescues that do really good home checks and properly match dogs with families. I'm not talking about rescues that do proper behaviour assessments and support the dogs while they're in rescue, and support their owners when they transferred from rescue into their new homes. I'm not talking about the rescues that will always take their dogs back. Those aren't the rescues I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guys that are putting dogs that have massive behavioural needs into homes where they can't cope. I'm talking about a guy who is a pensioner and was given a really energetic dog that's huge amounts of anxiety and needs a lot of behavioural work in order that they can socialise on walks, be near other people and other dogs. This guy was looking for a companion to help get him out of the house. He's more isolated than he's ever been. And I'm talking about this rescue because they refused to take that dog back. And worse than that, they're charging him to have their behaviourists come out and see this dog. This dog was given to him like this. He should never have been given that dog. They should have supported him if they did. They should have known what they were doing, but they didn't know that. I'm talking about rescues that have no idea about the dogs they're placing in the homes. They don't do proper assessments. A rescue locally recently assessed the dog as being fine to go with a home with kids, but that dog was assessed based on the fact that she walked past children in the street. That's all. They hadn't tested her with children coming up to her, talking to her in the same home with her. This dog just walked past a child in the street, didn't try to bite it, so this rescue assumed this dog would be great with kids. That's not how you assess a dog. I'm talking about rescues that take dogs off the streets with their tiny puppies, stick them in kennels for months on end with no human contact, no training, no socialization, and expect these dogs to cope in homes at 5-6 months old when they finally get homes and get transported halfway across the world. These are the rescues I'm talking about. This is the rescues that put dogs in homes and then refuse to take them back because the behavioural needs have become too great. Or a family now can no longer keep a dog because for whatever reason the circumstances don't match anymore, and that rescue is now refusing to take the dog back. And then we've got a dog now living in a home where it can't be around strangers, and a woman is about to have a baby. This is a terrible situation for that dog. It's a terrible situation for that person. These dogs should be taking these dogs back. When you are calling yourself a rescue, you are saying that you will save dogs from abused, neglected and unwanted situations. Well, when a dog's behaviour has become so great that the family you place them with can't cope with it, that dog is at risk of being unwanted and neglected. And if you refuse to take that dog back, when that person has come to you and asked for that, then that's not good enough. When you're taking a dog from one environment and then you're placing them into one that's less suitable, this is not rescue. I'm talking about a dog that has been transported as a feral dog aged around 2 years old. This dog was living his life on the streets in Europe, and that dog has been transported all the way to Dundee to live in a flat. That's not rescue. That's not helping that dog. That dog will be miserable in that flat forever. Whether that dog should be living on the street is a whole nother problem, but this is not rescue. This is just relocating dogs. This is just taking dogs from one place and putting them in another place when there's no thought and care for that dog's behaviour needs, their safety needs, their physical needs. And it's okay, but you can't just hide behind the fact that you have limited resources. We know you have limited resources, But if you can't do the job properly, you shouldn't be doing it. Imagine if an adopter came to you 6 months after taking a dog and said, we've not been able to provide for this dog in terms of their socialisation and behavioural needs. We tried our best, but we have limited resources. We'd be highly critical of that person, you know. You would say, that dog needs to come back, that dog is at risk. And yet rescues are doing this to dogs. Rescues are taking dogs from different places and they're not addressing their health needs. They're not addressing their training needs and their behavioural needs. They don't know these dogs at all. And they're putting them in homes, which also they don't really know at all either. If you want to rescue, then rescue. But that's not what rescue is. And it's so frustrating because people come to me and they're blamed for being bad owners, for not, didn't you know what you were getting? Why didn't you properly research, you know, getting rescue dogs before you got one? You know, there's some responsibility here from the rescue too. This is our frustration. People that can't cope with dogs are getting dogs, they're not getting any support, they're not getting looked after, these dogs are not being properly assessed, the home checks aren't happening, and then when it all goes wrong, nobody's taking responsibility and taking this dog back, and that needs to change. Rescues, when you sit on your high horse and you tell people that they're bad for buying puppies, adopt, don't shop, you know, all of this kind of stuff, you know, you can't behave like this. You can't refuse to take dogs back. You can't refuse to take proper care of their emotional needs and their well-being and all these other things, and then criticize people from getting a puppy. Because quite frankly, right now, with all of the way that I feel about rescue, all the stories that I'm seeing, everything I'm getting from talking to other professionals in the fields that I'm in, I would certainly not be suggesting people go and get a puppy other than going for some of the most reputable rescues. Those traditional bricks and mortar rescues that have behaviourists, that do assessments, that provide enrichment for their dogs and don't just sit back and go, well, we've got limited resources, we're doing our best. Best is not always good enough. If you can't do the job right, you shouldn't do it at all. So we need to get off the high horse. You need to stop criticising people for getting puppies, because quite frankly, that is a much better option than risking any of this stuff. Why would anybody risk getting a dog that will never be happy in their home because it was stripped from the streets and brought all the way across the world to Dundee to live in a flat? Why would anybody risk getting a dog that might actually not like strangers, need huge amounts of rehabilitation that they don't have time for, they are not skilled enough for? When they've got a baby come in, why would anybody risk getting a dog that was not going to fit into their home properly? You just wouldn't. And I am totally behind anybody that wants to buy a puppy when faced with those options. But rescue shouldn't be like that. Rescue should be about making sure that we're saving dogs from situations that aren't good for them and placing them into homes which really are. Rescue should be meeting all of their needs. They should be standing there and saying, this is how it should be done. This is how dogs should be looked for. This is best practice. But right now, from where I'm sitting, that's not what I'm saying. It sounds like a terrible situation out there, and these stories are coming through thick and fast, more than they ever have before. I've never seen so many cases come through on a daily basis where people are talking about dogs that have been put in the wrong homes, or, you know, have extreme training and behavioural needs, or should never have been lifted from the streets in the first place, or should never have been, you know, wherever they are, they should never have been in these situations. These stories are coming through thick and fast every single day, and I want you to protect yourself. Go to reputable places, go to the big places, go places where they promise to be able to take the dog back at the drop of a hat, where they will support you and not charge you extra to fix behavioural problems that they already had before they gave the dog to you. Just be sure that you are getting a dog that is going to be suitable for you and you're going to get the support that you need. If not, I do have to say, get a puppy. And that really hurts me because I've worked with rescues for years and years. I support rescue. I fostered for rescues. I ran my own rescue for a long time. But it's never been so bad as this. Yeah. If your rescue is not hitting all those notes, then, you know, you just need to change the way you're doing things. Reassess. Put the dog first. Think, is this in the dog's best interests? And if you're doing that, then, you know, you're halfway there. Take care for now.